So if you guys did not see, in this game right here against the New York Liberty, she's doesn't have anything strapped up, and people are saying her quad was strapped up against Connecticut Sun.
Caitlin Clark has once again gone down with an injury, and this time, fans aren't just holding their breath, they're fuming. It's not the kind of injury you walk off. It's her second of the season, and it could sideline her for a considerable amount of time. But what truly ignited the firestorm isn't just the injury itself, it's the bigger picture. Fans are realizing this was avoidable. This wasn't some freak accident in a high-stakes moment. It was the result of a disturbing trend that's been building for weeks. The blame is spreading, from the Indiana Fever's coaching staff to the WNBA officials, and even the league's own culture of unchecked physicality. Everyone had a chance to step up and protect Caitlin, and they didn't. And now, the consequences aren't just physical, they're existential.
With Caitlin, when did you guys find out about this groin injury, and how much of an absence do you expect from her beyond today?
Yeah, late last night. I think it's very much a day-to-day thing, how she responds to treatment.
Because when Caitlin isn't on the court, the lights dim. The excitement drops. The buzz disappears. And fans know it. That's why they're furious. Fever coach Stephanie White is under fire for mismanaging Clark's health. Stephanie White's press conferences used to inspire confidence. Now they provoke eye rolls and suspicion. When Clark went down with this latest groin injury, White described it as day-to-day. But fans have heard that song before. Just weeks ago, another player was described as day-to-day, only for it to emerge later that she had requested to sit out while the team tried to trade her. So now, with Clark visibly hurt, supporters aren't buying the vague answers. There's a growing belief that the team isn't being transparent, that they've been downplaying the severity of her injuries. And worse, that they've rushed her back multiple times just to keep ticket sales and ratings afloat. Stephanie White is no longer just a coach in the eyes of fans. She's a symbol of a system that is willing to gamble with its brightest star.
How is she doing? Is there any timeline for her return?
Yeah, she's doing well. She's doing well. Again, no timeline. I think it's day to day, and for us to just make sure that we're continuing to be supportive of DB.
And that's a role that comes with massive scrutiny and even bigger consequences. Signs suggest Clark was playing hurt for weeks before this incident. If you've been watching Caitlin closely, you've likely noticed something's been off. This wasn't a sudden downturn. Her recent shooting slump, especially her three-point numbers, has been glaring. We're talking 1 for 23 over multiple games. For someone known for logo threes and electrifying long-range shots, that's not just a slump, it's a cry for help. Combine that with visible leg strapping in previous games and inconsistent movement patterns, and the writing was on the wall. Fans started comparing footage, noticing that one game she had her quad taped, and the next game nothing. These weren't isolated plays. It was a pattern, clear evidence that she was pushing through something. And when you connect the dots, it's hard not to conclude that Caitlin's been hurting for a while. But instead of giving her the rest she needed, the team kept throwing her back out there, hoping for magic. And now, it may have cost them everything. Rushing her back likely caused further damage through compensation injuries. In sports medicine, there's a brutal chain reaction that often goes unnoticed until it's too late. When one part of the body isn't 100%, athletes start compensating. Muscles tighten, joints bear more stress, and sooner or later, another injury follows. That's exactly what seems to have happened with Caitlin Clark. The signs were all there. A quad strain led to overuse of surrounding muscles, and before long, her groin gave out. It's a textbook case of what happens when rest is sacrificed for short-term performance. Fans watched her play through pain, like heavily taped, clearly uncomfortable. Yet she kept being sent out on the floor. And now, this groin injury, on the same leg, feels like the inevitable result of systemic mismanagement. The anger from fans isn't just about the injury. It's about the fact that it could have been prevented. The Fever didn't just let her play hurt. They let her break herself down, one muscle at a time. The decision to play Clark in garbage time was inexcusable. The moment that broke the dam came with 16 seconds left in a game the Fever already had in the bag. Up by 8, the win secured, there was no reason, none, to put Caitlin Clark back on the court. And yet there she was. Some argue she asked to go in, maybe trying to shoot her way out of a slump. But this isn't high school ball. This is the WNBA. The coach's job is to protect players, even from themselves. Especially a generational talent like Clark, who clearly hadn't been moving right all game. The risk was obvious. The reward? Non-existent. And sure enough, that's when things got worse. That's the moment fans point to as the last straw. Not only was she playing through pain, but she was also put at further risk in a situation that had no stakes. For many, that decision alone is unforgivable, because it wasn't just bad judgment, it was negligence. Clark's competitive drive is admirable, but dangerous without protection. Caitlin Clark is the kind of athlete who defines eras. Her fire, her relentlessness, her refusal to sit even when she's in pain. That's part of what makes her a legend. But that same trait can be her undoing if the right safeguards aren't in place. She's not just playing for Indiana. She's carrying the entire WNBA on her shoulders. And that weight can crush even the toughest competitors. The problem isn't that she wants to play. It's that the people around her keep letting her. Fans are watching a superstar push through visible pain, game after game, with no real intervention. And it's not just about today's injury. It's about what happens if she keeps doing this. At some point, she won't be able to bounce back. She'll go from a week off to a season-ending injury. And all because the system refused to say, enough. It's not a question of toughness. It's a question of responsibility. The risk of a career-altering injury is very real and growing. This isn't just a scare. It's a flashing red siren. Caitlin Clark's current situation mirrors other athletes who pushed too hard, like Tyrese Halliburton, who tore his Achilles during the biggest game of his life after trying to play through pain. With women athletes already more prone to knee injuries due to their biomechanics, Caitlin's situation is even more delicate. A groin injury isn't isolated. It affects movement, cuts, balance. One wrong step, one mistimed pivot, and it's an ACL. A season gone. A career changed forever. And if that happened in a meaningless moment, it wouldn't just be tragic. It would be the biggest coaching and league failure in WNBA history. The league would lose its brightest star, and with her, the momentum that's taken years to build. Fans aren't being dramatic. They're being realistic. And they know the WNBA is walking a tightrope it can't afford to slip from.
The referees have made it like a point that this is how you beat the fever. You hack them. You don't even, it's not being physical, you just hack them. Because the referees are going to allow them be hacked.
The WNBA's referees and physical play style are enabling a dangerous environment. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the referees. Time after time, game after game, Caitlin Clark has taken abuse that simply wouldn't be allowed in any other major league. Grabs, elbows, body checks, even a full-on eye poke. None of it called. The message is clear. Defend her by any means necessary, because the refs won't whistle it. Coaches have admitted they encourage physicality for this exact reason. The league's silence is deafening. And while letting them play sounds tough and exciting, it's actually reckless when enforcement disappears entirely. Other players are getting hurt too. Jade Melbourne literally lost a tooth this week. But when it's your biggest star taking the hits and getting no protection, it becomes an existential problem. You can't let players treat Caitlin like a punching bag and expect the league to grow. Without rules, there's no safety. Without safety, there's no future. Clark's muscle gain may have increased injury risk, ironically for survival. Caitlin Clark showed up this season noticeably stronger, with more bulk in her legs and core. It was supposed to be a good thing, a sign of her readiness for the WNBA's physicality. But ironically, that added muscle may have made her more vulnerable. Rapid gains can throw off mechanics, change how you run, jump, and shoot. If your body hasn't fully adapted to the new mass, you're at a higher risk of injury. And that's likely what's happening now. Clark bulked up to survive the league. But that muscle came at a cost. And here's the tragic twist. If the league had enforced its own rules, she wouldn't have needed to transform her body into armor just to stay upright. Fans are furious not just at the fever, but at the WNBA itself, for creating a situation where its most valuable player had to risk long-term injury just to make it through a season. The league's future hinges on Clark, and they're gambling with it. There's no more debate. Caitlin Clark is the engine driving the WNBA. When she plays, ratings skyrocket. When she's out, everything nosedives, viewership, merch, social buzz. Her return from injury against the Liberty pulled in 2.8 million viewers. That's not coincidence, that's power. But now, with another injury looming, she might miss the Commissioner's Cup and even the All-Star Game. 2 events the league is banking on. And if that happens, the ripple effects won't just be financial. They'll be catastrophic. Millions in ad revenue, player bonuses, and public momentum could vanish overnight. This isn't just about the Fever or even Caitlyn anymore. It's about the league's survival. And fans know it. They've lost trust. They're watching the WNBA gamble with its future, one missed call and one bad coaching decision at a time. The question now isn't whether Caitlyn can recover. It's whether the league can. And so, as Caitlin Clark sits on the sideline once again, the question isn't just how long she'll be out. It's how much longer the WNBA can afford to ignore what's happening. The warning signs are no longer subtle. The outrage isn't just fan noise, it's a call to action. If the league, the refs, and the coaching staff continue down this path, they're not just risking one player's health. They're risking the very foundation of the game's growth. Caitlin Clark isn't just another rookie. She's the face of a movement, the centerpiece of a renaissance. And if she falls, so does the momentum, the money, and the millions of new fans tuning in. This is the moment for accountability. This is the moment for change. And if the WNBA wants a future worth fighting for, it better start protecting the star who's making that future possible. If you're still watching, drop a ball in the comments to show your support for Caitlin, and don't forget to subscribe, and stay tuned, because the truth is just getting started.